Welcome to r/Stories About Kevin, where people are so stupid it's hard to believe they are even human. Our first post is by Kevin Cider. I was a chef at a German restaurant. My employee was the granddaddy of Kevin kind. First, thanks to Dreadway90 and Strong Bad Jr. for the similar crazy employee posts. A few years ago, I was the lead chef, not the owner. This becomes important later. At a fairly sizable German restaurant, with up to 50 tables, meaning 200 plus customers on a busy night. It was a family-friendly establishment that focused on the traditional German aesthetic, lots of calligraphy and paintings of landscapes. Enter Kevin. The owners were a secretive bunch, rarely showing their face, and nobody told me to expect the new guy, none other than Kevin, to drop in during the Saturday night's dinner shift, as they put the door bastard in on the busiest time possible. The dinner service is starting, and Kevin has no idea what he is doing. Kevin is immediately screwing the pooch on... Wait, hold up. Okay, that on the pooch for his simple first assignment, getting the water boiling for noodles. He has the simplest task ever. Fill up 3 pots of water, get them boiling, and that's that. Kevin gets the first 2 pots into the stove, but with a thunderous crash. Kevin lets a tsunami loose as he drops the entire pot, sending a flood of cold, thankfully, water barrel down the floor towards everyone else. He spends the next 2 minutes mopping up. When he goes to put the mop back, where does the MF put it? In the effing potatoes. He puts the dry, sodden mop into the bucket of effing potatoes. Peeled potatoes. In his defense, we should not have left an open bucket of peeled potatoes, but jeez. Well, I said to him, everyone can have a rough start. It's not even the worst I've seen from an employee. And to this point, I naively believe Kevin was trying. I was very young. I was putting on the 3rd pot and taking noodles out of another when I noticed we were down an employee. I should have had Kevin at my right, but instead that station was empty. I spun my head around like in the effing Exorcist and I have a sinking feeling. I just know Kevin's doing something stupid. He's clearly in over his head. I think to myself, holy, he's more than in over his head. He's slacking. I see Kevin waiting tables, not his job, handing things over to my other employees, and proceeds to storm towards Kevin. What are you doing? Get back in there! I yell. 1 second, Kevin yells back. I see a mother and child conversing with Kevin. Kevin comes back and goes to his station, and I walk out calmly to the family. I asked the mom, what was Kevin doing? He didn't even get your order, she replied. He was doing a comedic act. He was pretending to be a German. Shoot. Alarm bells were ringing as I realized I left an unattended Kevin in the kitchen. Oh no. I returned to find a banana peel on the floor at my station. Only problem? We don't have bananas anywhere in the restaurant. Someone must have brought it from home. When the dinner shift winds down, I interrogate Kevin about the banana peel, but he denies it. I go in the next day, considering calling my lawyer to lock down my will before I let Kevin near a frying pan for the Saturday morning shift. The next day can only be described as a barrage of stupidity. Kevin started screaming, "The potatoes are burning!" when we were lightly frying sliced potatoes. Flat potato slabs, not French fries to go with eggs. They were browning. Kevin pours water over them. Oh no. A small fire ensues as he added way too much oil in the first place and tries to cool down the potatoes. He pours a bowl of water over boiling oil. Kevin yells, "Free cookies!" to a crowd of children, then revealed he had 1 cookie and ate it in front of a bunch of sad children. Worse than Ted Bundy, to be honest. Kevin threw away an entire can of coffee labeled French roast because it's a German restaurant. Kevin fakes falls down and splashes another employee with hot coffee, barely avoiding seriously injuring him as it slides into his ass. The man spends the rest of the shift with a toasty, Java-soaked rear end. Kevin claims to have pissed himself and reveals it was just water. Kevin is caught shaping out of mashed potatoes and using his magic dehydration cube. Oh god. I'm not even going to read that. Kevin says a customer ordered pickles, but he didn't feel like opening a new jar, so he gave them pickled mushrooms instead, since it was technically a pickle. He poured red food coloring, which was at the back of the cabinet, and even I didn't know we had, into the ice cubes for soda drinks and called them magic dehydration cubes. Oh, that's disgusting. Giving an evil laugh. I'm guessing that's canon in Kevin's imaginary world. Kevin continues sneaking out the kitchen to do a comedic routine, which you can't hear from the kitchen, but I can see. People tend to scowl, and one even walked out looking very upset, and I start to wonder, what in the world is he doing? But it's Sunday morning and things are extremely hectic. I don't even get a chance to inquire with anyone. I ask Kevin and all the admins to is doing a German impression. I shrug it off and keep working. Things are unusually busy even for a Sunday morning/noon. By this point, so Kevin is effing up at the worst times possible. All of a sudden, I hear a shriek and I fear the worst, that the boiling oil made a deep-fried Kevin. No, it's just him yelling at a bottle of pickles. Open you! Ooh, effing... Worst thing is, he is in the quiet part of the kitchen in front of where customers or children can hear him. How many children learned about the birds and the bees that day? I don't know. Kevin then decides, as soon as I turn my back from him, to just smash the jar. Let the pickles hit the floor. A much better version of let the bodies hit the floor, if I do say so myself. I picked them up with his grubby hands and served them to customers. When I turn back to the source of the crashing glass sounds, he sits there sheepish looking. Kevin shrugs up my tirade at him about it and keeps doing stupid stuff. Once again, he leaves to do his comedy routine, and I see him waving his arms in a strange manner. But again, Whoa. I am seeing this out of the corner of my eye as I frantically plate up the schnitzel. Kevin tried throwing a metal platter across the kitchen, and it went as well as you think, almost turning into a Kevin-adapted version of a shuriken. Shurikevin, if you will. Ninja Kevin. As the shift ends, customers begin filling out. Kevin still managed to leave before a lot of customers, leaving literally the minute his shift ended, exactly. Like he was prepping potatoes, dropped the pan, and walked out. I would be there the rest of the day, as would many of my staff, but Kevin only had mornings on Sundays. Once Kevin left, I see a woman approaching the counter in tears. I see her husband wearing I don't know how to pronounce that, which for those who don't know is a Jewish religious head covering. I see their table, and it's the table where Kevin has been waving his arms. I put two and two together, and my legs feel weak, as if the world is collapsing on me. It turns out Kevin was doing an impression to a Jewish family of a certain German leader. Needless to say, that was all for Kevin at my restaurant, as I sent an email to ownership. But wait, even after he knew all that happened, I hear back from them. Kevin was moved to another effing position, not fired. Given that I had two great-grandfathers who served in World War II, one in the Soviet Union and one in America, this did not exactly spark joy in me. I might add that when I left that job a few months later, it was one of the top reasons. Effing Kevin. What the... Bro, how did this guy not get not arrested? How did this guy not get fired? That's like... that's very questionable ownership. Our next post is by Ochanian. The friendliest, happiest of all the Kevinas out there. It's a long one, plus the edits make it longer. 2 to 3 years ago, I started reading all these Reddit stories, revenges, dramas, nice guys, entitled parents, anti-vaxxers, Karens, and Kevins. Might be a little foreshadowing of what I'm planning, but I thought to have the misfortune to be spared encounters with the latter two, but there is one exception. In the place I would have expected it at least. I am now studying medicine abroad in Europe, in a former city of the Soviet Union with good reputation. As an international study course, people from all around the world, mostly Germans and Swedes. There is an open and including culture on all campus, all before COVID. However, our little study group was perhaps a dumpster for some of these students that don't really fit anywhere else. This was due to our smaller than average group size. I made 2 close friends there, and we didn't really socialize much with the rest. Got better in later semesters. Most in our study group fit that weird but lovable trope, but maybe some creepiness. I don't know which is a Reddit forum. I would post a creepy guy, nice guy, annoyance, friendliness, and fun thrown in. The person I'm about to speak today is the most friendliest, happiest person you and I will ever meet. Now, university is not a place where you would expect a Kavina, especially not abroad in a country she's never been, doesn't speak the language of, or has no connection to. But not only was she going to study medicine, but also started a month late. This did not raise any red flags as our group was still disjointed in the early days and we got some new faces in the preceding weeks. And maybe the administration process just took longer. Who knows? Honestly, I didn't know. I don't care. I remember something about her and her father, not sure how much involved he was in the administration process. Not understanding that university starts a month earlier than universities in most countries. Not sure who messes up there. I've never met her father. In the first week she was with us, she obviously joined the rest of the study group to the cheap restaurant across the street from the uni. The few first things I've learned from her came from this restaurant visit. She had just graduated within the last year, and this was her first time being without her parents, etc. So, nothing out of the ordinary. She told us that so far she has not cooked for herself since arriving here. That's fair. Money for delivery/restaurants were no problem for her, and her insecurity about cooking isn't uncommon if you're without any prior experience. You might have noticed how I'm trying to give her plausible deniability, because the flow of the conversation led to her telling us how she attempted to cook some rice. She comes from an Asian country known for rice consumption, India, but she was young, had no prior cooking experience, etc. No big deal. I would have to look up minutes, water content, etc. myself back then, at her age, experience level, that is. Now I know, obviously. No amount of Kevin stories can immunize you against the surprise/confusion you'll have once you hear a story like hers in person. You'll be like, huh? But why? Now, when a normal person wants to cook some rice but has no idea how, asking for help or googling a tutorial might be the sensible and correct thing to do. She has her iPhone, she surely is able to do this, but no. She explained how she puts rice in a pan, no water, not even oil, nada. She burnt her dried rice black. Yeah, understandable how that would make it easier to order food delivery. I didn't really think much of it, except for it being a funny story a person could have in a lapse of mind, or during ignorance, first attempt at cooking. I have some funny stupidities in my cooking history as well. Except for the occasional class participation, I didn't have many interactions with her. I kept mostly to my small circle of friends and wasn't interested in expanding it too wide. During our first aid test, we then had to show that we know how to do chest compressions. She was among the last to perform, so had plenty of people to imitate if she so wanted. But it was a test under direct supervision of the teacher. Benefit of the doubt is given. Nervousness is a thing after all. She forgot all the things. No call for ambulance, no checking for consciousness, and or breathing, as far as I remember. And chest compression started at the stomach. The teacher corrected her a bit, but after a while I was wondering if she let her compress until the ambulance she didn't call arrives. Either not, or she gave up after a while. Well, the course is very lenient, and I assumed at first she was given a pass, but it turns out she didn't. She was the only one of the class to possibly the semester that failed the first aid class. There was also a theoretical/written part, but the teacher wasn't in the room, so cheating was a given. No one cared for first aid enough to study properly. I already had 3 first aid courses in the 24 months before that and had no intentions to learn it again. It is possible that she was given a free pass for the chest compression but failed the written part. I don't know. Bro, and she wants to be in the medical field? Hold up. Something's not right with that statement. This is about the extent I've learned of Kavina's moments, until over the course of the next semester I learned more details. I was opening up a bit to the other students in my study group. We had lost most of the dead weight and were now a study group with good enough social cohesion and unity. Dead weight were like people who attend 3 to 4 classes the entire semester, had only one course with us, ghosted us in the 3rd month, etc. Again, we were the dumping ground for such students. In a social event, I ended up talking to one in my study group. Let's call him Ivan, who had more stories to tell about her. Oh boy. Well, first of all, there's a sequel to her cooking attempts. Now I'm trying to retell the story as accurately as I'm able to. I've heard this story once from Ivan and once from her, as I once came across her in the mezzanine. She repeated the first semester was not in my study group anymore. Sometimes after her first failed attempt, she tried again. She had learned from her burnt corpse of incinerated rice that water is needed to cook it. She told me that she did not remove the plastic the rice came in? The bag? What? Plausible deniability. Some rice can be not in these packages, and maybe she just made a mistake, or his retelling is sort of inaccurate. Well, that somehow translated in her cooking, breaking the pot itself. What? This is more likely a product defect than her cooking. She did confirm that the lid of the pot was cracked, and she sort of took blame for it. Something in her expression was there that makes me think she believes, having done a lots of judgment, the plain story didn't convert properly. I'm not sure if I've ever broken a pot or pan. I wouldn't think twice over it. Probably happened to me already and I forgot about it. Accidents happen, products can be faulty, irrelevant, but in no way indicative of her Kevinness. Other stories Ivan told me. In the chat Ivan had with her, they were talking about how to ride from the uni to the hospital, the first aid classes. She misspelled tram as tramp, which was a funny mishap until you noticed that's how she pronounced it as well. I still call the tram tramp now. One of my favorite inside jokes. Well, it's not the tramp, but the bus that goes directly from uni to the hospital. But she seemingly does not understand it. She kept asking him, "When does the tram come?" He apparently didn't correct her on the tramp thing, or if he did, he failed, and him answering, "We're taking the bus, not the train." Fed up after repeated questions, Ivan went full meme and started pointing both hands at the road. "Me, do you see the rails? Okay, unwarranted but funny outburst aside. She didn't let that stop her. But now understanding they were waiting for a bus thing, she didn't know what a bus was. Okay. She then proceeded to ask him repeatedly for any unordinary larger vehicle, even cars, if that was their bus. It was a major bus station too. I don't understand how he struggled to explain it to her. Honestly, half of this probably came from his impatience with her, not her Kavina antics. She also went through 3 iPhones in her first semester. What the? She has a spare one ready in case one breaks. Imagine being so irresponsible you have to do that. Mommy/daddy pays. These individual phones have probably seen more screen use than my singular phone that semester, and I'm a YouTube addict. Edit to add. Alright, I talked to Ivan. He told me stories I forgot about. First, 2 corrections. I might have confused the rice story regarding the plastic bags. It might not be 2 different stories after all, from what I can guess. He wasn't there when she told me the first rice cooking attempt story. The plastic bags were likely part of the first story, which makes her first attempt even worse. She burnt rice plastic bags without water or oil in the pan. Burnt plastic ain't nice. The tramp story happened after, not before first aid. He was also not in the mood to explain to her what a bus was, therefore didn't even bother. After first aid, wanting to go back to the hostel, the questions about the tramp and the "do you see rails" was uttered. Now, 2 news stories. Ivan said there's a proverb, too dumb to boil eggs. Well, first time is hard for everyone. Boiling water? Check. Eggs? Check. Nothing out of the ordinary. After 10 minutes, Ivan asked about the eggs. 10 minutes. He figured, well, they will be hard-boiled now. I'm gonna guess she didn't. But still edible. She refused. "No, it's not done yet." "What? Why?" "The shell is still there." "But you're supposed to peel it off after." "No, it's fine." "Okay, whatever." Well, after 20 to 30 minutes of cooking, Ivan, who left the room, came back and said, "The eggs are mush now, just coming out the shell mush," she said. "Okay, then they're done now." Surprise, surprise, she didn't like those eggs. She orders a hamburger, takes a bite, and decides she doesn't like the meat. Takes out the patty, eats the rest. Or maybe she never eaten one before. Ivan doesn't believe she never had a burger before. At another place, food is ordered, and she asks if they can order a burger for her. The same thing happens again. Takes a bite, doesn't like the beef, throws it away. That's a waste of beef. On a trip to the supermarket, Ivan met up with Kavina. She needs to buy food. Ivan is already annoyed for her inviting herself to his immediate surroundings, but she has a right to buy food where he reckons. She asks where chicken is, and he gives her directions. Well, she eventually comes back with a food product. He doesn't remember what it was, but it wasn't chicken. And asks, "Is this chicken?" "No." She comes back with a portion of chicken breast. It was a chicken drawn on the wrapping. Is this chicken? Well, yes. For F's sakes, Kavina, leave me alone. I want to shop. I already mentioned her parents throwing money at her and missing half the time. Well, credit cards were used abroad, typically having a fee. She brought something for €4. The fee was €20. I'm sorry if I read the money symbol wrong. She used a Russian Tinder ripoff, Badu, and was chatting with 3 men. One of them was Russian, so she asked Ivan to text for her, but she became paranoid and clawed into his hand. Ivan goes F it, gives the phone back. New boyfriend comes to the city. Ivan met him and first thought he was older than the new boyfriend, but nope, this new guy is 10 years older than her. They've been a couple for 2 years now. Either he likes her enough to not care, and or loves her for her parents' money. Ivan doesn't know, but is happy to not be her object of desire anymore. Yes, Kavina was into Ivan for a long time. He was not into her. Edit 2. I removed the part that, in hindsight, I believe is not appropriate or that is relevant. It is just too sad. It shouldn't be in public, I think. I was trying as hard as to give as many examples as possible, but it's better to keep this post on the funnier/positive side. I do really Negta's opinion about her family, though. I'm gonna get so pounded. They're either as correspondent as her or do not like her enough to be decent parents. Sheltering a kid to the point she doesn't know how to cook and ride a bus is bad enough, but then to just send her away across the continent into a high demanding academic pathway without any restrictions or warning about dangers she might encounter, I honestly think they just want to boast her profile. She studied some medicine abroad and marrying her off or something. They're wealthy enough for that to be a viable strategy. I don't know enough about Indian culture or society to make such statements. I only see what her parents resulted in. Their motives are irrelevant for me. Kavina is, to this day, the friendliest and happiest person I have met and conversed with. I hardly doubt anyone could take that gold medal from her. She's only rivaled by one psychiatric patient I've interacted with, but that's a different story. Well, how do you cook the bag? I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone knows not to do that. But hey, whatever they say, doesn't matter. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please comment down below, like and subscribe to this video, and peace out.